I'm pleased to introduce the winners of the Philip Webb Award 2019. My name's Shahed Saleem. I was one of the judging panel for the award. We had a good long day back in November, a year ago now. We looked at a series of really interesting, complex, highly developed entries. We spent a very long and a good morning discussing all of those schemes with my fellow judges. And then in the afternoon, we had a really good set of meetings with the entrants, and we discussed their projects with them, interviewed them, quizzed them about the reasons that they had done what they'd done and how they'd put their projects together. And we were really impressed with the overall range of entrants, the quality of the work, the way in which the entrants were engaged with their projects, the way that they presented them. And it was a very uplifting day for the amount of work that had gone into all of these schemes. So it was a very difficult decision to go through the shortlisted entries and come up with some winners. And in the end, we had to choose two joint winners because the work was all really at such a high level. And we chose Olivia Hellman, was one of the joint winners, and her scheme was for the reuse of a former mill in Stoke on Trent, and she was looking at putting in an urban dairy into that former mill, and it was the adaptive reuse of the building that we were particularly interested in. And the second joint winner was Nikola Yanev, and his project was for the reuse of a former textile mill in Yorkshire. And he was proposing that it should be reused as a algae energy production plant. So it was growing algae, and the growth of the algae would generate energy. So both projects were really innovative in their programmatic proposals, as well as the way in which they had architecturally gone about adapting the buildings, and the way in which they were presented, the level of research that had gone into them was all very impressive, and really sort of gave them the very slight edge over the other entries. So I'm very pleased to be able to present those now. Thank you.
I'm absolutely delighted to have been awarded the Philip Webb Award. My project revitalises a former calcining mill in Middleport, Stoke on Trent, and the building is one of very few remaining in the UK, and it represents an important economic, social and industrial archaeology. The mill was previously involved in the process of making pottery, an industry for which Stoke is famous. However, as a result of industrial decline, the mass production of pottery is no longer solely a reliable source of industry. And therefore, my project proposes a return to Stoke's initial form of industry, which was dairy farming, to readdress the balance of production. It reimagines the farm in a more contemporary and sustainable manner. My proposal seeks to repair and reference the mill's past while adding new layers to imagine an alternative future. It provides the opportunity to mend place and the surrounding community, as well as the existing built fabric. I entered the Philip Webb Award as it encapsulates everything that I'm interested in, such as sustainability, history of place, and reuse and repurposing of existing buildings. It has allowed me to continue to explore a project undertaken at university and engage with a wider audience than I would with a typical studio project. And I'm very grateful for this fantastic opportunity. To have won the award is an incredible endorsement for what I'm interested in pursuing for my future career.
I was absolutely overjoyed to have been awarded joint first place in the Philip Webb Award, and also to be sharing the award with Olivia, who I studied with at Sheffield. I have a great passion for adaptive reuse of existing buildings and for learning how to develop new sensitive designs in historic contexts. And this is why the Philip Webb Award appealed to me, because it celebrates projects that focus on creative reuse. It also offers the opportunity to extend the value of the project beyond university and gives participants a platform to present to like-minded professionals. For me, it was a way to test out the rationale behind my scheme, and I'm very grateful for the feedback received from the judges as well. Old Lane Mill is a very striking building. You definitely have to see photos of it. Google it if you can. It was an amazing engineering feat at the time to build a 6-story iron-framed textile mill. It sits alone in a valley that was once populated with mills, in this industrial landscape where mills used to be almost on islands in between mill ponds. However, its current state paints an eerie picture with its roof half gone. Its boiler house next door is also in a crumbling state. The conservation philosophy focuses on identifying a viable new use for abandoned heritage in order to secure its long-term future and remove the risk of demolition, the detrimental consequences of waste accumulation, disproportionate carbon emissions, embodied energy, but also the loss of local pride and identity. Existing buildings should be seen as carbon sinks, and as such, effort should be made into reusing them successfully. The program has two main elements. The bottom of the mill celebrates the heritage of power production by proposing an algae energy center, research facilities, and the professional education skills college is situated to the top. The landscape is dedicated to leisure and production. Historic mill ponds are reinstated for algae growth, which is processed into biofuel for heating and electricity. The boiler house is kept as a ruin and a wild garden. The only new build elements are circulation spaces. Two towers provide equal access helped by horizontal walkways with bioreactors for algae production. In essence, the project seeks a viable new use for vacant existing buildings and argues that a successful adaptation, if taken beyond typical approaches, can not only avoid the negative effects of demolition, but also empower local identity. Thank you.